Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Portland Trailblazers and Charlotte Hornets. As we approach the twilight of the NBA season, two teams far from the playoff picture are gearing up for a clash that's less about the standings and more about honor on the hardwood. The Portland Trailblazers, dragging themselves to the finish line of a brutal road stint, are set to duke it out with the Charlotte Hornets at the Spectrum Center. Both teams, deep in the trenches of a rebuild, have encountered their fair share of hurdles this year. The Blazers have been trying to shake off a 10-game skid, while the Hornets haven't been doing much better, stumbling through a 2-8 record in their recent stretch. Portland's journey has been a bumpy ride, particularly stinging after a close defeat by the Orlando Magic. Despite a gutsy showing, stars like DeAndre Ayton and Delano Banton had moments of brilliance, but couldn't steer the team clear of inconsistency. Ayton, in particular, has been a ray of hope, consistently dropping performances that tease a brighter future for the Blazers. Yet injuries to key players such as Matisse Thybulle and Anthony Simons have thrown a wrench in the works, leaving the team exposed as they march into Charlotte. The Hornets, despite their struggles, have flashed signs of tenacity, notably in a recent tussle with the top-seeded Boston Celtics. Miles Bridges and Grant Williams have risen in the absence of key figures, embodying the grit and determination Coach Steve Clifford has been drilling into his young crew. However, the sidelining of LaMelo Ball for the season and question marks over their center rotation have clipped Charlotte's wings, limiting their ability to consistently throw punches. When you break down the stats, both squads have been floundering offensively, ranking at the bottom of the league across key metrics like points per game, shooting accuracy, and beyond the arc efficiency. Defensively, the story isn't much better, with both teams letting opponents rack up scores too comfortably. This statistical snapshot sketches a bleak portrait of two teams scrambling to find their stride in an unforgiving league. History shows Portland usually comes out on top against Charlotte, especially in recent encounters. However, this matchup feels like uncharted territory. With the Blazers hampered by injuries and stuck in a rut, and Charlotte playing on their home court with glimpses of unity, the scales seem more balanced. In a rare break from back-to-back games, both teams have had a chance to rest and regroup. But Portland's grueling road schedule could tip their energy and execution off balance. The Hornets, basking in the comfort of their home arena, might just have the edge they need. Considering both teams' current forms, statistical profiles, and the Hornets' home court advantage, this bout is shaping up to be a nail-biter. However, Charlotte seems to have a slight upper hand, thanks to their more consistent recent performances and the Blazers' road weariness. Brace for a low-scoring affair, with the Hornets likely clinching a narrow victory. The point spread, favoring the Hornets by a slender 1 point, indicates a close battle. With the trends in both teams' conditions in mind, Charlotte covering the spread is a solid bet. The total points set at 213.5 points suggests a lean towards a lower-scoring game, given the offensive woes of both parties. To sum up, while the Portland Trailblazers and Charlotte Hornets both look forward to the offseason for a reboot, there's still pride and growth at stake in this encounter. Expect the Hornets to leverage their home advantage and slightly more unified play to cover the spread in a matchup that's unlikely to break the scoring bank. I'm putting my money on the Charlotte Hornets to take the win and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Los Angeles Lakers and Washington Wizards. Tonight's clash at the Capital One Arena is more than just a game. It's a high-octane NBA face-off as the Los Angeles Lakers swagger into the scene to take on the Washington Wizards. Both squads are hitting the hardwood with something to prove, the Lakers riding high off a slick victory over the Nets, looking to keep the ball rolling, while the Wizards are itching to shake off a recent stumble against the Heat. Sporting a solid 42-33 record, the Lakers have been lighting up the scoreboard, dropping an average of 117.7 points per game, which lands them a spot in the league's top 10 for firepower. Their shooting game is tight, hitting nearly half their shots from the field and draining threes at a 37.7% clip. What's more, Their knack for sharing the rock has them ranked 6th in assists, showcasing their smooth, team-centric play. However, their defensive end could use some tightening up, as they've been letting opponents score almost as much as they do. LeBron James, fresh off a monster 40-point game against the Nets, remains the linchpin for the Lakers. His scoring spree, coupled with Anthony Davis's two-way dominance, spells trouble for any team. Yet, the Lakers' bench depth is under the microscope, with injuries possibly shaking up their lineup. Meanwhile, the Wizards, sporting a grim 14-61 record, are on the struggle bus, especially on defense where they've been bleeding points, allowing a league-worst 123.0 points per game. Despite managing to put up 113.3 points per game themselves, their shooting from the deep has been hit or miss. Given the Lakers' recent hot streak and sharpshooting, they're coming into this game with the odds in their favor. Even on the tail end of a back-to-back, their track record shows they can handle the heat, unlike the Wizards who tend to falter under such pressure, especially on defense. The Lakers have the stats and the history to back up their advantage in this showdown. The Wizards' leaky defense against the Lakers' scoring arsenal points to a likely Lakers win, and them beating the spread. The absence of key players due to injuries could sway the game's dynamics, but the Lakers' depth and the Wizards' defensive woes suggest the Lakers will continue their charge and notch another win. The odds are set with the Lakers favored by 12 points and an over-under at 234.5 points. Given the Lakers' scoring prowess and the Wizards' defensive struggles, betting on the Lakers to beat the spread and opting for the over seems like the smart play. So, the call is for the Lakers to not only triumph over the Wizards, but also to do it with style, covering the spread and making the over on the total points a good bet. My money's on the Los Angeles Lakers to walk away with the win and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Detroit Pistons and Atlanta Hawks. In the high-voltage arena of NBA basketball, an electrifying face-off awaits at the State Farm Arena, where the Detroit Pistons and the Atlanta Hawks are set to clash in a display of sheer talent and strategic mastery that's sure to capture the hearts of hoop fans worldwide. Fresh from a gritty win over the Wizards, the Pistons are riding a wave of resilience and tactical brilliance. Meanwhile, the Hawks are aiming to bounce back from a tough loss to the Bucks, showcasing the unpredictability and exhilaration that define the NBA. Despite a challenging season, the Pistons, with a 13-61 record, have witnessed moments of sheer brilliance, particularly from Cade Cunningham. His standout 33-point game against the Wizards highlights his ability to tip the scales in Detroit's favor. Yet, the team's overall stats, with an average of 110.6 points per game on 46.5% shooting, contrasted against a defense giving up 119.5 points per game, underscore the urgency for a tighter defense. Conversely, the Atlanta Hawks, boasting a better record at 34-40, are fiercely competing to climb the playoff ladder, averaging 119.2 points per game with a 46.6% shooting accuracy. The Hawks have shown they can dominate the scoreboard thanks to players like Bogdan Bogdanovic and his explosive 38-point performance. However, their defense, much like the Pistons, allows an average of 120.5 points per game, presenting a vulnerability ripe for exploitation. Historical matchups at the State Farm Arena indicate a trend of high-scoring games, with the Hawks often coming out on top. Coupled with the Pistons' lackluster away record and the Hawks' home court advantage, the scales are slightly tipped toward Atlanta. Yet, Detroit's recent form, with only one win in their last 10 outings, starkly contrasts the Hawks' momentum of 5 wins in their last 6 games. Injuries and player availability are pivotal, with both teams navigating through injury challenges that could sway the game's dynamics. Given the stats, recent forms, and historical encounters, the prediction leans toward an Atlanta Hawks win. Nonetheless, under Cade Cunningham's leadership and the Pistons' recent show of strength, Detroit is poised not just to cover the spread, but also to potentially stage an upset. Their resilience and fighting spirit might just keep the game tighter than expected. With the Hawks' spotty defense and the Pistons' zeal to finish strong, Detroit stands a good chance to beat the 13-point spread set by bookmakers. Expect a shootout, with both teams' offensive strengths and defensive shortcomings pointing to a high-scoring game. But the smart money might be on the Detroit Pistons to cover the spread, driven by a determined performance against a Hawks team looking towards the playoffs, but but cautious about conserving energy for the battles ahead. My pick is on the Detroit Pistons to beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Oklahoma City Thunder and Boston Celtics. Tonight's clash on the hardwood at TD Garden is shaping up to be a basketball symphony, with the Oklahoma City Thunder rolling into town to take on the Boston Celtics. Both squads are lighting up the league this season, with the Celtics sitting pretty with a stellar 58-16 record, having already bagged the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference. Their game is a mix of sharp shooting and ironclad defense, dropping an average of 120.9 points on their rivals while keeping them to just 109.5. With a shooting spree hitting 48.6% from the field and 38.9% from downtown, Jason Tatum dropping 27.2 points and snagging 8.3 boards a game, alongside Jalen Brown's hefty contributions, are the backbone of Boston's charge. The Oklahoma City Thunder, not far behind with a 52-22 tally, pack a punch with their own scoring blitz at 120.4 points per game and a solid 50% from the field. Their prowess doesn't stop there. They're also snipers from beyond the arc, sinking shots at a 39.1% clip. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with an eye-popping 30.3 points per game, and Jalen Williams, fresh off a 33-point game, are the main men for Oklahoma. Their knack for pilfering the ball and strategic defense plays a big part in their playbook. When it comes to duels in Boston, the Celtics have turned TD Garden into a fortress, winning their last 10 straight at home. This advantage is huge, as their familiarity with the court often translates to victories. But the Thunder's grit, especially when they're the underdogs or facing back-to-back games, is legendary. Their road warrior mentality and ability to face challenges head-on are worth. Digging into both teams' current streaks and their game in similar setups, it's clear that fatigue and lineup rotation might tip the balance, particularly for the Thunder, who are coming off another game. Missing key players like Gilgeous-Alexander and Williams could sway the game. However, with the Celtics potentially dialing down as they eye the playoffs, the game's predictability becomes murky. On paper, both teams are neck and neck offensively, but the Celtics hold a slender advantage defensively, which could be crucial. Their precision from the charity stripe and fewer giveaways might just clinch it in a nail-biter. Piecing everything together, this showdown is expected to be a nail-biting spectacle. The Thunder's zeal to clinch the top spot in the West meets a Celtics squad that might lean towards keeping their squad fresh for the postseason. Considering the Thunder's hustle as underdogs and their knack for overcoming the odds, plus the Celtics' recent struggles to keep up against top-tier teams, Oklahoma City stands a good chance to beat the 9-point spread set by the odds makers. So while the Celtics might look to extend their dominion at TD Garden, don't sleep on the Thunder. They've got the moves and mindset to give the Celtics a run for their money, especially as they eye the playoffs with a different strategy. My bet is on the Oklahoma City Thunder to beat the spread, taking into account their formidable form and the Celtics' possible pivot towards playoff prep. Double-check the injury list before placing your bets, hoop fans. The next prediction for today is for the game between Indiana Pacers and Brooklyn Nets. Tonight's showdown at the Barclays Center is set to be a thrilling encounter as the Indiana Pacers lock horns with the Brooklyn Nets. The buzz around this game is electric within the NBA's betting circles, given the Pacers' recent dominant victory over the Lakers, highlighting their top-tier offensive prowess. On the flip side, the Nets are eager to bounce back from a recent defeat by the same team. A deep dive into the statistics, team chemistry, and recent form sheds light on what we can anticipate from this clash. Boasting a solid 42-33 record, the Pacers have been setting the scoreboard alight with an average of 122.7 points per game, thanks to their high-octane offense spearheaded by Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton. Their sharp shooting from beyond the arc and unparalleled ball distribution, leading the league in assists, underscore their dynamic attacking strategy. Their defense, however, is an area of concern, ranking 28th in the league for points conceded per game. This vulnerability will be under the microscope, especially against a Nets team known for exploiting defensive lapses. Despite their 29-46 standing, the Brooklyn Nets pack a punch. Their recent outing against the Lakers revealed some weaknesses, yet players like Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton have proven their ability to rise to the occasion. The Nets may struggle with shooting efficiency, standing 28th in field goal percentage, but their paint defense and knack for curtailing opponents' scoring runs could present hurdles for the Pacers. The performance trends of both teams in recent games add an interesting dimension to tonight's matchup. The Pacers have demonstrated their ability to outgun the elite with their premier offense, while the Nets have showcased their tenacity, particularly in tightly contested rebounding duels. Injury updates and player performances tip the scales further. The Pacers' proficiency in floor spacing and exploiting assists, with Halliburton at the helm, contrasts with the Nets' dependence on Thomas and Claxton for offensive production. The outcome may well depend on the Pacers' offensive execution versus the Nets' control of the paint and rebounds. Reviewing the team's previous encounters in Brooklyn offers some insights, but falls short of a definitive prediction due to the NBA's unpredictable nature. Nonetheless, the Pacers' offensive firepower, coupled with their current form, suggests they might have the upper hand. Although the Pacers are the favorites, the 7.5-point spread and a total points line set at 230.5 indicate an expectation of a high-scoring game. Given the Pacers' scoring capabilities and the Nets' defensive struggles, a point-rich game seems plausible. However, the Nets' fighting spirit might narrow the margin more than anticipated, especially if they leverage their defensive strengths and secure second-chance points. To sum up, while the Pacers are poised for victory, the Nets' competitive spirit and potential for strategic disruptions are factors that can't be ignored. Expect a fiercely contested match, with the Pacers likely clinching a win, but the Nets posing a significant challenge, possibly beating the spread. In essence, I predict a nail-biter with the Pacers emerging victorious. Yet, the Nets' determination and strategic shifts could see them covering the 7.5-point spread, making them an intriguing option for the analytically inclined. The high over-under reflects confidence in the scoring abilities of both teams, but with the Pacers' offensive efficiency, betting on the over appears to be a savvy move. My pick is for the Brooklyn Nets to defy the odds and cover the 7.5 points. The next prediction for today is for the game between Memphis Grizzlies and Milwaukee Bucks. In a captivating showdown at Fiserv Forum, we witnessed the high-flying Milwaukee Bucks take on the underestimated Memphis Grizzlies, where the game's narrative is anything but predictable. The Bucks, boasting a strong 47-27 tally, have lit up the season, powered by Giannis Antetokounmpo's award-worthy exploits and Damian Lillard's sniper-like accuracy. Their offensive machine has been pumping out an impressive 120.4 points per game, shooting at a commendable rate of 49.1%, yet their less stellar defense, yielding 116.8 points on average, hints at a crack in their armor. On the flip side, the Memphis Grizzlies, with a 24-50 record, might seem to be staggering through the season, but they've sparked up resilience, especially in their tight victory over the Detroit Pistons, spearheaded by Jaren Jackson Jr.'s dynamic scoring. Despite their challenges, Memphis has showcased a tenacious defense, letting in 113.2 points per game, showcasing their never-say-die attitude on the court. A pivotal aspect to watch is how the Bucks handle the strain of consecutive games and whether the Grizzlies can leverage this. Past trends show that teams can falter on the second night of back-to-back games, potentially affecting Milwaukee's defensive sharpness and energy. With Damian Lillard's participation in doubt due to a groin issue, the Bucks may face a stiff challenge. Delving into recent encounters in Milwaukee reveals the Bucks' dominance on their turf, with the support of their fans and the home court advantage playing a crucial role. Yet, Memphis's surprise win over the Bucks in February, despite Milwaukee's absent key players, indicates that the Grizzlies can pinpoint and exploit the Bucks' vulnerabilities. Stat-wise, the Bucks lead in offensive efficiency, shooting accuracy, and rebounds, both offensive and defensive. However, their defensive performance dips at home, a vulnerability Memphis might exploit, especially if their rising stars, like Gigi Jackson, step up to challenge Milwaukee's potential Fatigue from their last game. The Bucks' dependence on their starters for extended minutes could be a deciding factor, especially if the game tightens by the fourth quarter. The Grizzlies, despite trailing in the standings, have exhibited persistence in close contests, with their bench occasionally delivering crucial plays. Considering all elements, including the Bucks' erratic recent form and the Grizzlies' ability to exceed expectations, the betting odds seem to undervalue Memphis's prospects. While the Bucks have a statistical advantage, especially on their home court, the mix of potential fatigue, injury worries for key players, and Memphis's recent momentum suggests the Grizzlies might just close the 13.5-point gap. Bucks' pursuit of a higher seed may drive them, but Memphis's resilience and strategic targeting of Milwaukee's weak spots could narrow the game more than expected. The total points set at 222.5 points presents another intriguing angle. Factoring in both teams' latest performances and the game's dynamics, a defensive standoff might emerge, tipping the total points toward the under. Memphis's defensive upswing and the Bucks' possible offensive slowdown due to consecutive game fatigue and Lillard's uncertain status point to a closely contested, lower-scoring affair. To wrap up, although the Bucks are armed with talent and drive to clinch a victory, the spread is overly favorable to a Memphis squad known for upsetting the odds. It looks like the Grizzlies will beat the spread, with the total points likely dropping below the 222.5 threshold, given the game's dynamics. Betting-wise, it's on the Memphis Grizzlies to beat the 13.5 points. The next prediction for today is for the game between Toronto Raptors and Minnesota Timberwolves. As the NBA season hits its stride, a captivating showdown unfolds at the Target Center, where the Toronto Raptors go head-to-head with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This game features the underperforming Raptors, saddled with a disheartening 23-52 record and mired in a 14-game skid, squaring off against the powerhouse Timberwolves, who are tied for the lead in the Western Conference with a stellar 52-23 record, despite falling short in tiebreakers. The Raptors, amidst a season overshadowed by setbacks, are hitting the court with nothing but pride and growth on the line, highlighted by R.J. Barrett's impressive 28-point performance in their last outing against the Lakers. On the flip side, the Timberwolves, riding high from a recent triumph over Houston, led by Naz Reid's 25 points, are showcasing their lethal offensive might and rock-solid defense, the pillars of their success this campaign. A peek at the Raptors' stats unveils their quandary. With an average of 112.7 points on 47.4% shooting, they're ranked 19th in scoring prowess. Meanwhile, their leaky defense gives up 118.4 points on 49% shooting, anchoring them near the league's basement. Their 35% three-point shooting and an average of 42.5 rebounds per game are commendable, yet fall short in compensating for their defensive flaws. In contrast, the Timberwolves' stats tell a story of balance and dominance, scoring 112.9 points on 48.5% shooting, coupled with a league-leading defensive record of only 106.2 points conceded per game on 44.8% shooting. They're clamped down on opponents' three-point attempts at 35.2% and pulling down 43.8 rebounds per game underline their all-around team excellence. Looking at past encounters in Toronto adds layers to the narrative. Despite the Raptors' win in their recent clash, the Timberwolves' form and prowess, especially on their turf, hint at a shift in dynamics for the upcoming bout. Diving into both squads' performance in back-to-back games offers key insights. Historically, the Timberwolves excel at managing energy and output in such tight schedules, leveraging their youthful energy and depth. The Raptors face the uphill battle of warding off fatigue and keeping up the fight, a daunting task given their current slump. Injuries and key matchups will play pivotal roles. The Raptors' hopes pinned on Barrett and Gary Trent Jr. for firepower face a stern test against Minnesota's strategic defense, fortified by Rudy Gobert in the paint. The Timberwolves' balanced offensive assault, spearheaded by Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, presents a complex challenge for Toronto's struggling defense. Factoring in team form, statistical breakdown, historical matchups, and the consecutive game dynamic, the forecast strongly favors Minnesota. The Timberwolves' edge in offensive efficiency, defensive strength, and rebounding, combined with their push for the top seed in the West, significantly tilts the scales in their favor against Toronto. Despite occasional sparks of brilliance, the Raptors fall short in matching Minnesota's strategic depth and discipline. Although a 15-point spread is substantial, the Timberwolves' drive and the pressure to perform in front of their fans suggest they will not only cover the spread, but also drive the total points beyond the 214.5 threshold, thanks to their scoring capabilities and Toronto's defensive woes. To sum up, the Minnesota Timberwolves are set to continue their winning streak against the Toronto Raptors, beating the spread in a scoring bonanza that eclipses the total points line. With both teams coming off consecutive games, Minnesota's depth and tenacity are the deciding factors in their conquest. My bet is on the Minnesota Timberwolves to clinch the win and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Orlando Magic and New Orleans Pelicans. In a high-octane showdown heating up the NBA court, the Orlando Magic is set to face off against the New Orleans Pelicans at the Smoothie King Center, with both squads fiercely vying to sidestep the nail-biting play-in games. Positioned at 6th in the Western Conference with a solid 45-30 win-loss tally, the Pelicans are just a hair's breadth ahead of the Suns. Meanwhile, the Magic, clinching the 4th rank in the Eastern Conference with a 44-31 record, are eager to widen their lead over Miami. This clash isn't merely for the bragging rights, it's a critical battle for playoff positioning. The Magic recently demonstrated their defensive might by dominating the Grizzlies with a stunning 118-88 victory, limiting Memphis to a mere 36.0% shooting accuracy. Their offensive strength was equally impressive, boasting a 48.7% shooting performance, including a remarkable 50% from three-point land. Cole Anthony, with his significant impact, along with the team's united defensive front, showcases Orlando's potential to throw their opponents off balance. On the flip side, the Pelicans' recent falter against the Celtics, ending in a 104-92 loss, highlights their Achilles heel, particularly in free throw conversions and rebound control against the formidable Boston team. Despite Zion Williamson's heroic 25-point contribution, New Orleans struggled with consistency from the free throw line and the perimeter, a stark contrast to their usually proficient offensive. When considering the season's performance, the Magic's defensive resilience shines through, leading the league in suppressing opponent assists. Their scoring balance is reflected in their offensive efficiency, notably their 47.7% field goal shooting. The Pelicans, while boasting a commendable 48.7% in field goal efficiency and a strong rebounding game, have shown vulnerabilities, especially in defending the perimeter and maintaining offensive consistency. Orlando's rise to the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference speaks volumes of their determination, surpassing expectations with a commendable 44-31 record. Their clutch performances, including a thrilling win over Portland, highlight their defensive reliability, driven by Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero's scoring prowess. The Magic's depth and tenacity in close matches have been key to their success. Conversely, the Pelicans, despite their notable 6th-place position in the Western Conference at 45-30, have faced challenges, notably a loss to the Suns. Zion Williamson continues to be a ray of hope, yet injuries to crucial players like Brandon Ingram loom large over their campaign. Their scoring capability, contrasted with defensive lapses, especially in critical moments, presents a hurdle in maintaining momentum. Looking at the team's history at the Smoothie King Center offers insights into their performance. With Orlando's recent form and New Orleans grappling with injuries, the balance seems to tip in favor of the Magic, especially considering the Pelicans struggle without Ingram's scoring and playmaking contributions. The significance of this matchup can't be understated, with playoff positions hanging in the balance. As the Pelicans strive to secure their spot at 6th, the Magic's ambition to cement their place in the Eastern Conference adds an intriguing dimension. With the impact of home advantage and both teams' current trajectories, this game is shaping up to be a tactical. After analyzing the stats, recent performances, and past encounters, the Orlando Magic stands out as the probable victors to beat the spread. Their defensive skills, combined with efficient shooting and resilience in tight games, give them an edge over a Pelicans team wrestling with injuries and inconsistency. Anticipate a tightly contested match, with Orlando's strategic prowess likely tipping the scales in their favor. To wrap up, the Orlando Magic, with their defensive strength and well-rounded offensive strategy, are poised to beat the 5-point spread in this crucial matchup. The Pelicans' missing key players, coupled with Orlando's form uptick, highlight the Magic's chances of clinching a win in what promises to be a tactical face-off with substantial playoff stakes. My money's on the Orlando Magic to outdo the 5-point spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Cleveland Cavaliers and Phoenix Suns. As the Cleveland Cavaliers prepare to take on the Phoenix Suns at the Footprint Center, anticipation builds for a thrilling NBA clash. The Cavaliers, entering with a record of 45-30, are looking to rebound from a tough 130-101 defeat against the Denver Nuggets. Despite Evan Mobley's impressive 23-point haul, the Cavs fell short, particularly in their three-point shooting, making just 8 of 25 attempts. Their struggle from beyond the arc, combined with their failure to slow down Denver's offense, which fired at a stunning 57.5% from the field, highlights areas for Cleveland to address. On the other hand, the Phoenix Suns, with a 43-31 record, also aimed to bounce back from a 128-103 loss to the Thunder, a game where Kevin Durant added 26 points. The Suns' defense was breached, allowing the Thunder a 56.3% shooting success. Nevertheless, the offensive firepower of Durant and Devin Booker is a force to be reckoned with. Analyzing the performances, several key aspects stand out. Cleveland's robust defense, which is 6th in the league by conceding just 109.7 points per game, is up against the Suns' explosive offense, averaging 116.7 points. The Cavs' three-point and free throw shooting percentages at 36.6% and 76.4% respectively are critical in matching the Suns' scoring threat. Moreover, the Cavaliers are navigating a tough stretch, losing 5 of their last 7 games, which could expose weaknesses for Phoenix to exploit. The Suns, returning from a road stint, are eyeing an improvement in their playoff stance, leveraging their top 10 offensive rating and efficiency. Past encounters in Phoenix suggest an evenly matched battle, yet the Suns' home advantage and the Cavaliers' inconsistency, particularly in consecutive games, give Phoenix the edge. Despite Cleveland's formidable defense, containing the Suns' dynamic duo of Durant and Booker will be challenging, especially if the Cavs are without key players like Donovan Mitchell. Based on statistical analysis, recent performances, and historical matchups, the Suns, with their powerful offense and strategic home advantage, are the favorites. While Cleveland's defensive strength will pose a challenge, the Suns' drive for a better playoff spot and their scoring capacity are expected to secure them the victory. The Suns' knack for clutch performance, despite a lower fourth-quarter scoring rank, is key. With both teams showcasing distinct advantages, a close contest is anticipated. However, the Suns' balanced attack and home court strategy should tip the balance in their favor. Predicting the outcome, my bet is on the Phoenix Suns to win and surpass the 5-point spread. Anticipating a high-scoring affair, I expect the total points to exceed the 226 mark, given both teams' offensive talents and recent defensive woes.